First, I saw the headlines, lots of them. Micah Parsons is lazy. What? Micah Parsons is selfish. What? And then I took a minute to consider the source, and I must tell you, the source, the origin of this, has enough credibility that it bears listening to. Not just from us, but from Micah himself. I'm Mike Fisher, your trusted and trusted reporter. This is the Fishbowl. That is the Star. Jesse Holley hangs out inside the Star. So let me do full disclosure on Jesse Holley and, of course, on Micah Parsons, too. 34 years covering the Dallas Cowboys, of course, and we're glad that you're along for this ride. Every star has a gravitational pull. Micah Parsons is a star. That's undeniable. He's one of the handful of best athletes in the game, one of the handful of best defensive players in the game, one of the handful of best players in the game, and a colorful and quotable personality on top of it all. Recently, Micah has attracted negative attention, and he's responding, kind of, to some of it, especially the accusation that he's the Cowboys' quote, most selfish player. The word lazy, I didn't see that, and if I missed it, I apologize. I didn't see Jesse Holley, who I've known for a long time and been friends with for a long time. I didn't see that word in the video. Obviously, that is insinuated here. Law Nation, I'm friends with Law Nation, been with him a long time. As I've told you in the creation of this show, The Fish Report, I don't do it. I don't know what I'm doing if Law Nation doesn't show me the ropes. He really mentored me into what we've done here, and I'm forever appreciative. Let me make this clear. Obviously, I think you already know this if you know law. He's not a Cowboy hater. He's anything but. Let me tell you about Jesse Holley if you don't know this. The Jesse Holley that I know is not just trying to stir it up. He's not trying to create a problem. He's not trying to give you a hot take. He's not fake. I will give you a background item on Jesse in a minute to help you understand that, so you believe me if you don't know Jesse. And again, I think if you're a Cowboy fan and you see his work on DallasCowboys.com and you've heard him on the radio, I think you probably already understand some of that. Micah's reaction to all this, by the way, is appropriate enough as far as it goes. He says, y'all just want a reaction out of me. It's not going to work. That's Micah writing on Twitter. Probably clearly referencing the controversy triggered by Jesse Holley, the former Cowboy receiver. He was on the Cowboys, of course, in 2010, 2011. He went on the Ray Ray's podcast, and I saw my pal Law Nation involved there, and the conversation was about America's team, a lot of facets of it. And then Jesse spent a great deal of time talking about his issues with Parsons, his leadership, or lack thereof, his commitment or lack thereof, selfishness, laziness, kind of, his impact on the Cowboy culture. Quote from Jesse, Micah Parsons, to me, is probably the most selfish player on this football team. He said Micah doesn't want to play linebacker because it's too much responsibility. Maybe it's just the youth in him. He doesn't want to study, doesn't want to focus in. I truly believe that Micah wants to be great for Micah. Jesse spoke about Parsons' alleged lack of desire to play off-ball linebacker, where the team, of course, struggled this year. He made it clear he's not saying Micah's a dumb player at all, but also made it clear he feels his unwillingness to change positions puts the Cowboys at risk for success, at risk of not having success, at the cost of Micah going and getting his sacks. And Jesse says if Micah ever wanted to get into the Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu school of film watching, he could play anywhere, do anything. Problem is he doesn't want to. Why? Jesse's got a theory. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm already going to get the biggest bag in the history of NFL defensive players. Why don't I just keep doing this? Parsons, of course, about to be extension eligible. And the plan is to have him clearly be a $30 million APY guy. I think it's fair to say he'll almost certainly become the highest paid defensive player in the history of the sport. Now, let's do some fairness stuff here. And let's go with my thesis. And by the way, I appreciate your comments and questions as we review them over the course of this time. A couple of things. One, there is no evidence to suggest that Dan Quinn went to Micah and said, I need you to play off-ball linebacker more, and Micah said no. I have no evidence of that. If that's what we're saying here, that is a harsh accusation, and I can't say it and wouldn't say it unless I asked Dan Quinn directly, which I guess I need to do. There is no evidence of that. In fact, there's evidence kind of contrary to that when we've got Terrence Parsons, who's making quite a name for himself, big brother to Micah. He's on a rampage saying, why didn't our team and our defensive coordinator play us, Micah, at linebacker more? So that kind of contradicts directly what Jesse is suggesting here. Parsons played more linebacker, of course, in his rookie year and was very good. Cowboys, my observation of it and understanding of it is like, we've got this great off-ball linebacker who's also a great pass rusher, which is more important. And so slowly but surely, they morphed him into a guy who's more of a pass rusher. That's what I thought happened. Jesse talks about the leadership part of this and says, I'm going to paraphrase here, and Jesse will understand, after meetings, let's have another meeting. Let's go over to everybody's house and let's bond. Let's do that. People close to Micah have disputed Jesse's position. They're saying, no, he does do those things. In fact, Micah's mom went on Facebook and said, I can name you a bunch of times when the fellas come over to the house, when Micah takes defensive linemen and works out. It happens all the time. Now, here's my personal, again, we've gotten to know Micah. We have said on this show, and this is my observation after covering the NFL for 40 years, Micah is not listening to some of the people who are trying to help him when it comes to the podcast foolishness and his desire to be a celebrity. And he clearly has that desire. He's argued online with Gronk when he's tried to tell him, and he didn't argue online with Michael Irvin, but Michael Irvin's trying to tell him in any way that Parsons will listen to, you need to focus on the real prize, because the real prize isn't being a popular celebrity. And it seems like you're putting, Micah, a lot of effort into that. That's Irvin's conversation through media and social media to Micah, maybe privately too. It does not appear that Micah is heeding their advice. In a way, although Jesse's may or may not mean it this way, Jesse's giving Micah advice again. Now, it comes across to some people as hater, and that ain't it. Let me tell you about Jesse. Uncle Fish story. The recent passing of Marion Barber, who was certainly a friend of Jesse Holly's, and he had a lot of friends who cared about him and worried about him. Late in Marion's life, of course, things did not always go very smoothly. There was court dates, and there was behavioral issues, and all the rest. And then, of course, the tragic passing. So on CowboysSI.com, as I'm writing the obituary, I hope thoughtfully and carefully, I'm done writing it. Now I need to put a photo, just the way I have to put a photo in. So I grabbed the first horizontal photo. I was in a hurry. Got to get it up. Deadlines. And I can't remember exactly what the photo I grabbed was. I think it might have shown Marion Barber smiling, which is why it caught my eye. But it also, I believe he was in the courtroom. So he was smiling in a courtroom. And up my story goes. And I mean within 15 seconds. Really. Because I put it on Twitter, I put out it goes. Very quickly, I got a phone call from Jesse. He said, Fish, you do your business. I know you've been doing it a long time. You know what you're doing. But I got to tell you, I'm bothered that you picked that photograph. And I'm like, what photograph? Which one did I pick? And he said, you picked the photograph that painted Marion Barber in a light that doesn't make me feel good about it. Makes me uncomfortable when I think of Marion Barber and all the wonderful positive things, and this is how you've chosen to portray. And I'm, oh my God, of course you're right. Of course you're right. Just not on purpose, but thoughtless of me. That's my Jesse Holly. Not only did he care about Marion Barber and how he was portrayed in his obituary, he cared enough to come straight to me. He didn't go on Twitter and say Fisher's a jerk. He called me. And he didn't say, he could have said, Fisher, you're a jerk then too. He called me and said, yeah, just my 2 cents, but I wish you would do it. And of course I changed the photo immediately. That was Jesse being Marion Barber's friend, and that's Jesse being my friend. And what I would like, and I don't want to speak for Jesse here, and I don't want to speak for Law Nation here. I think they're trying to help. I think the criticism from Jesse is intended not as hot take theater. I think it's intended as someone. Jesse mentors a lot of young people. He's involved in that. And I think he's trying to help here. So what we do now, YouTube, social media, and all the rest, everything's an argument. So I'm seeing a lot of people, yeah, he's wrong, he shouldn't have said, how dare he's a hater. I don't see it that way at all, because I'm old. I see it as, here's a bunch of evidence, here's a bunch of stuff that we should throw into the pot and cook up a gumbo and let it marinate and think about it and smell it and taste it and work it out. MICAH Parsons and his brother and his mom have their truths. And their truths, MICAH's truth can be right. I think MICAH would tell you, wait a minute now, I worked my tail off here. What are we talking about? Jesse has his truths. Doesn't mean all his assertions are correct, but Jesse has his essential truths here. This doesn't have to be a conflict the way some of us are making it. This could be a gumbo. I don't want MICAH Parsons to be offended by Jesse Holly's opinion. I don't want him to ignore all the white noise. Every once in a while, somewhere in that white noise, there's a little something in the gumbo that's worth considering, smelling, tasting, and let marinate. MICAH's truth and Jesse's truth do not necessarily have to be an argument. They can end up taking MICAH Parsons to the same good, better, positive place. Fish out.